Joining us for the news at 11, I'm Chris Fry. Outrage in Lakewood tonight as parents are upset that the school district is looking into potentially consolidating an elementary school. Caitlin McCarthy was at tonight's school board meeting with reaction.
Lakewood schools parents making passionate pleas to the school board, asking them not to repurpose any of the elementary schools. The meeting was held here at Roosevelt Elementary, one of the buildings up for consideration. I also spoke with the Board of Education's president to get her response to parents' concerns.
I don't doubt that the staff at other schools are great, but this is a relationship that has been developed and can't possibly be passed along in the student's record. Please don't do this to us.
Lakewood schools parents fighting for what they think is best for their children. They have a number of concerns with the Board of Education's proposal to repurpose some of the elementary schools. The buildings that are part of the discussion are Grant, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. Monica Brua's kids are students at Grant. She's worried about them potentially having to start over at a different school.
I'm afraid that the students would lose and be hurt by moving with their social emotional well-being.
The district currently has 7 elementary schools, and they're looking at repurposing 1 or 2 of them. Many parents like Brua also enjoy the walkability they have to their schools.
It's just a great bonding experience for the community.
Nora Katzenberger, the Board of Education's president, spoke with me about parents' concerns.
We formed our elementary facilities task force last fall because we had some declining enrollment over the last 10 years, and that affected the capacity in our elementary buildings. And we wanted to study that and make sure that we were using our facilities the best that we could.
Some parents argue that's not the case with enrollment.
Well, I don't think it's necessary based on the information that we know that the enrollment has stabilized at 4,200.
Katzenberger says if this does happen, the district would use the building for other educational purposes, potentially a central pre-K for the entire district.
They would have before and after care services. And the nice thing about having an early childhood center would be that we could consolidate all of the additional services that children might need.
If there are any changes to the use of the elementary school buildings, they will not take effect until the 2026-2027 school year. In Lakewood, Caitlin McCarthy, 19 News.